What's going on? So, I decided to do this video on a whim because I'm actually genuinely curious. I also like to give you guys my feedback on it. Having some pretty extensive experience with LSD and mushrooms, I'd like to know what you prefer and why. Go ahead and post in the comments below. You know, friendly debate. If even that, just whatever you like better and why. So, I prefer LSD over mushrooms personally. That's just me. I find it more versatile, as in I'm able to use it in more situations than mushrooms. I mean, either on a really low dose isn't going to really matter, but I mean, if you want to really get the effect of the substance, I find mushrooms far more incapacitating than LSD, while LSD is more user friendly. And I think it's interesting to do this video because a lot of people online are really curious about these substances, and I see the question all the time. And what should my first psychedelic be? If a friend of mine came to me and asked me that, I would tell them, of course, after they've went through all the pros and cons and educated themselves on what these substances can do, both the negative effects and the positive effects, and what they can gain out of it. I would recommend a lower dose, not a super low dose, but not a high dose of LSD first. But that's just my experience. Everyone's different. But I happen to see a pattern emerge amongst psychedelic users that seem to agree with me on the fact that mushrooms can be more uncomfortable mentally. They tend to dig a little deeper. They tend to be more therapeutic. You'll get more out of that, considering you don't find yourself in a traumatic experience, like over the top scary, over the top, horrific and traumatizing. Although either can cause that, I just find mushrooms push you a little harder. I would say tryptamines in general and lysergamides in general. This is very general because I know of a few tryptamines that are mellower. I haven't tried them, but it's from what I hear. I think it was 4-hydroxy-MET, 4-HO-MET, and 4-hydroxy-MIPT. Those two tryptamines users tend to report that they're a little bit more mellow and easier to navigate. What I mean by that is less confusion, less disorientation, less incapacitation to a point where you can only lay there and endure it. I have gotten to that point on LSD before. It just doesn't seem to be as common. Now, that's mental effects. Mushrooms also tend to be more sedative for me. You find yourself yawning a lot on them for some reason. That's weird. I've never got an answer to why that happens. Other than someone saying, or me reading somewhere, that the serotonin system, when it's activated, can cause that. But all these psychedelics activate the serotonin system. When I say psychedelics, I'm referring to what they called psychedelics in the 60s, in the 70s. Now they seem to call everything from pot to fucking DXM psychedelic, which I don't agree with. I mean, we have categories for a reason, and it has to do with communication. And you want to be able to communicate to someone, hey, this is a particular substance, and I call it a psychedelic. I want you to get the point across that this is going to create similar effects to LSD, similar effects to mushrooms, mescaline, etc., etc. I don't want someone to tell me, hey, this is psychedelic, and it's something completely off the wall and different. You know, like DXM and PCP and ketamine are dissociatives, but I still hear them referred to as psychedelics. I just don't think they intended for that to happen. And also pot. Yes, it's mind expanding. Yes, it can get trippy, and it can even cause hallucinations at high doses. For me, I get slight distortions at, you know, average pot doses, but I don't consider it a classic psychedelic. I should make a whole another video about that. But anyway, yawning is caused by, they say, the serotonin activation, but all these drugs activate serotonin. All the classic psychedelics do. So I don't know. I've never gotten yawns from anything else. So yeah, it causes a bit more sedation. They're less recreational for sure. I mean, there are recreational aspects to it. Like if you're hanging out with your friends and you're all tripping out on shrooms, you'll end up laughing a lot, even bonding, possibly. Although, almost every time I trip on mushrooms, I find myself wanting to get away from the group. I need to be alone with my thoughts. I need to be alone with my experience. Tryptamines in general do that to me. I know some of you are going to nitpick me on this, but LSD is not exactly a tryptamine. It has the tryptamine backbone in it, but it is a separate class. It's an ergoline, I think I've heard, or lysergamide. It's not a tryptamine. It may be a subclass, possibly, but in my opinion, it shouldn't be called that. I find it totally different. Visuals on mushrooms, they tend to be more, or tryptamines, bubblier. The colors they're saturated, but you get more pastel type colors, at least I do. More rounded, more organic, like biomechanical almost. Like imagine H.R. Geiger, but really colorful. That's kind of the effect I get, you know, when I close my eyes or whatever. They tend to not be as vivid. They can be, especially at high doses, but I mean, with LSD, it's like someone turned the brightness and the contrast and the saturation up really high, and the visuals are far more lucid. With mushrooms, it's way more in and out of like a dream state, you know. It's dreamier, and the way I'm like kind of bobbing my head almost, I naturally, it's like how I describe it. LSD is more electric. It's more uppy. It's more energetic, stimulating. Makes you want to move more. You could hike on LSD, and for those that go to raves and stuff, they could dance. And I don't think a lot of people like to dance on mushrooms. Could be wrong. Maybe some of you out there might. But anyway, that's not really my scene. But I prefer to use these substances out in nature. Neither of them are fun, or as fun indoors for me. I like to at least have access to being outside. I don't want to be cooped up or trapped anywhere. So what else? LSD lasts a lot longer. That's the one downfall. I'd prefer it to be, you know, 6 to 8 hours versus 8 to 12 to 14 sometimes. Luckily, there's new lysergamides out, and some of them have shorter durations, like ALAD. I did a video about that if you want to check it out. It's a much shorter LSD-like trip without the emotional or mind component. It's almost removed completely. There is some, but it's diminished, like hugely diminished comparison to LSD. I couldn't see anyone having a hard time, a difficult experience with ALAD, although I've heard of them rarely on high doses. It's really user friendly for a beginner. But LSD versus mushrooms, back to that. I'm a very visual person, and I've gotten shit for that, for when people ask me why I do it. And I'll tell them, you know, I'm an artist, and I'm very visual. I like to be artistically inspired. That's the first thing that attracted me to it initially, was being able to see out of this world shit, which I definitely got that. I find the visuals much more in your face and lucid, and like you can almost touch them. With mushrooms, they almost feel like you're peering into another, like it's behind a veil. You know, they're there, but they're just out of reach. They're more vague looking. LSD, they're just so bright, and your headspace is so lucid. It's fucking incredible. You can't believe you're witnessing the shit you are. So those are pretty much, you know, you pretty much tell by what I'm saying that I'm a bigger fan of LSD. Although, some more pros and cons. I find that, first, mushrooms have better, more long-lasting therapeutic effects on positivity, on depression and anxiety. For me, LSD it's therapeutic by reminding me of what's out there, of being humbled by the fact that we don't know shit. It has an immediate, you know, kind of an afterglow or whatnot is what they call it. Lasts like a week for me. But I've never, and also they have helped me quit drinking. I did a video on that. LSD's helped me quit drinking. Whereas mushrooms gave me an effect that lasted years of just being generally happy being here and alive. So for medicine, like truly medicinal reasons, mushrooms take the first place. LSD takes first place in recreation. If you want to just blow off some steam and have fun, and I don't recommend ever using any of this shit for fun, because when people do that, they tend to be irresponsible with it. These substances should definitely be used with care and respect, because they can fucking burn you. All the positive effects that you can get from them, you can go the other direction to an equal degree. They can fuck you up. They have for me. Take it from the horse's mouth. It's happened to me. So I'd be very careful. But my preferred all-around substance would be LSD. Absolutely. Just the visuals are phenomenal. And also the body euphoria, or the euphoria in general, both mind and body. LSD has a very interesting, beautiful feeling to it. Mushrooms can and do as well. I just find they have more of a body load, as they say. A little more discomfort, physical discomfort for me on mushrooms. And that incapacitated feeling is really uncomfortable as well. I guess you can put that in the same category as body load. Other negative, also by the way, LSD can, for me, I get more long-lasting visual effects, like static and stuff like that. Mushrooms have never done that to me. Other substances have, LSD especially. mescaline and some synthetic phenethylamines have done that to me too. So it's not LSD alone. It's just that tryptamines, I guess, tend to be less severe in that aspect as a side effect. But yeah, so what do you guys think? What's your favorite one out of the, two classes? Let's just say lysergamides or tryptamines, and why? Help me out. Let me know what you think. Take it easy.